Welcome back to Civilnet. I'm your host, Patrick Elliott. I'm delighted to be joined today by Sharistan Melkonian, who is the Dean of General Education at AUA. Sharistan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm glad to be here today.
So the American University of Armenia, the flagship of education, of higher education in Armenia, internationally at least, you have a milestone to celebrate. You're recently reaccredited. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What does that imply, and why is this significant for Armenia?
Yeah, sure. As you said, a huge milestone last month. The American University of Armenia was reaffirmed. So the Western Association of Schools and Colleges in the Western United States, which is one of 7 regional accreditation agencies recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, reaffirmed AUA's accreditation for 10 years. And that's the longest length of time that an institution can be accredited, so we're incredibly proud. We joined the ranks of institutions like Stanford and the University of California, Berkeley, given the length of time. And it was an incredible process to get there. It's an ongoing process. And we're proud of the fact that that WASC has recognized what we know, which is that we're incredibly proud of the strengths that the university has. We're aware of some of the areas that we need to continue to work on, but that we do have sort of a seal of commitment to quality assurance that the international community recognized. So a really big milestone for AUA, but also a milestone for the country. And I would say maybe even more importantly for the country, because we have an opportunity to demonstrate to the rest of the world how education in Armenia is moving, in Armenia's road in development is moving towards a commitment to those international standards, which are recognized throughout the world.
Can you tell us a little bit about AUA's mission up until this point, and if anything has shifted now since the recent Karabakh conflicts? I would say one of the most real moments for me is seeing the updates on Facebook and LinkedIn of students who gave their lives, and you're realizing that these are real people. They had goals, they had dreams, they had community. Has anything shifted at AUA now with this new reality in Armenia?
It would be difficult to say that things haven't shifted everywhere related to where the country is at this moment in time. Like many other institutions, unfortunately, we lost 7 students in the most recent conflict. We consider them not only heroes to the country, but for us. We have a small memorial to them in the university, and it is important for us to remember that they stood the line in order for us to continue. But it's also important for us to be committed to improving everything that we do in the country, including education. If not because we're on a road in development, but also because they gave their life for us to be able to do that. Patrick, I want to thank you for asking that, because we often forget that in addition to where we are in this moment in time, that there are people involved.
So what would be the mission going forward now? What's the vision for AUA in Armenia?
So AUA's mission is, to develop the region, the country, the region, and to have an impact on those things, as well as to be able to have an impact on the world through the ways in which we're developing. And that really hasn't changed. Part of our vision is to expand both the number of students that we're able to educate, but also the number of programs that we're able to offer to those students to address the demands that the country is facing, the region is facing. You might know that AUA began as a graduate school only, and we launched into undergraduate education just in 2013. As a matter of fact, part of this most recent reaffirmation of accreditation was looking at that transition to see how well we were able to transition into undergraduate education. And we were pretty proud of the way in which we transitioned into it, being able to support the students in multiple ways, but also recognize that there are other ways in which we can continue to support them not just through the academic programs that we have, but in the support systems that are around, things like a math and writing center, and tutoring, peer mentoring, and things like that. And not only did we recognize that those are places that we can continue to improve, but our reaccreditation process also agreed with us that while we transitioned incredibly well, these are areas in which we want to continue to improve, to be able to make sure that our students, when they walk out our doors, really do have the skills and knowledge to be able to address the challenges of the workforce and whatever their future education goals might be.
Can you tell us what connections you guys have with the United States, for example? I mean, since a parent over there, especially Armenian diasporans, right, it seems like an obvious choice to send their kids here, because if they're going to spend 200 grand to educate their children over there, why not send them here to discover the homeland, stay here, and also it would be like a cash injection into AUA, right? Is there any kind of cooperation or collaboration with Armenian organizations over there to start to attract Americans here?
Yeah, that's a great question. As a parent, I know how incredibly expensive the cost of education can be in the United States. It's a little unbelievable. You know, AUA isn't an island, and the fact that there is a population of students, about 10% of our students are international students, about 20% of our faculty are international. And I think that the fact that we have committed ourselves to recognized international standards sends a message to potential students, both here and abroad, that this is a place that they can trust. It sends a message to parents that they can trust that their children will get a good education. Also to faculty, if you're looking for a place to sort of hang your hat and teach and be engaged in research, this is a place worthy of your expertise and time. And maybe more importantly, Patrick, to the workforce, right? So the workforce wants to know when somebody walks out of our doors that they're going to be able to transition into employment or further education in a way that is really, that can be successful. And the fact that the cost of education in the United States is so high, and the fact that the American University of Armenia is accredited internationally, is an indicator to parents that they can trust that their students will get a quality education. And you know, it's an indicator both to them because the cost is so high, but also, you know, we don't have that many opportunities to really understand. There's no major metrics in education like there is for business, for instance. We know that if a business makes money, is evaluated, is profitable, you know, we can identify that as a successful business. But in education, those indicators are not so clear. It's much more complicated. And international accreditation is one way in which we can, that the higher education community in general has agreed is a signal that the institution is committed to quality. So I think that's one way in which we can continue to let students and parents in the United States know that their children will get a really good education. And there are examples. The American University of Armenia has an incredible partnership with Worcester Polytech Institute in the United States. It's more than just a study abroad program, and study abroad programs are great opportunities, but we send students to the United States. We send a group of about 8 students, and then they come back with WPI students. So not only do we trust that they're going to get a good education at WPI, but WPI trusts that when they come back, they're going to get a really good experience. And in addition to the education, those students work together on community-based projects in Armenia, so we are able to have an impact in the community right here in Armenia. And that partnership is possible because AUA has international accreditation.
Finally, one of the big things going on in Armenia now in terms of education is the planned academic city. Is AUA involved in this plan? In what capacity? And what are the general observations and opinions around this project?
So I can speak on behalf of myself, and I would say that it is very important that something is being done. Education, higher education in Armenia must be improved, and that it is being addressed is important. Whether or not the academic city is the answer, it's hard to tell because we actually don't have a lot of information about exactly how it's going to impact education, how it's going to improve the quality of education for students. We have examples throughout the world. We see examples in Qatar, Abu Dhabi. We might want to look at those and see
Oxford, Cambridge.
Oxford, correct, and just seeing what those examples are like. And as we learn more about the details of Academic City, I think we'll be in a better position to be able to understand whether or not this is one of the ways in which we can improve education in the country.
Well, does AUA plan on relocating out there as well in Nirashtarak or having even a presence there?
So my understanding is that we would like to have a presence. At the same time, we are very much an urban campus. And I think figuring out exactly what that is going to look like is going to depend on what we learn about the academic city and how things develop over the next few years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'll ask you again about Academic City, maybe in our next interview a few years down the line, and we'll see how the answer changes.
Thank you, Patrick, for having me today.
Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you all very soon.